We're recording. Woo!
Got it.
I'd like to welcome everybody this morning. Thank you all for being here. As you know, we have had a huge void at our school, a huge loss with the passing of Chris. But I wanted to make this an event where we are truly just sharing stories about Chris, our best memories of Chris, and just making this a celebration. So I wanted to start off by sharing with you a text from his mom that I had no idea how much talent Chris actually had. So she texted me and she said, Chris played both the acoustic guitar and the electric guitar, the banjo, the violin, the clarinet, the saxophone, the piano, and the harmonica.
Wow.
I had no clue. And then I'll share this with you because during quarantine, he decided to take up painting. So we were all kind of laughing because we would get these pictures because anything that he owned, if it could be painted, he would paint it. So he brought me this. I don't know if can you guys see this? Where is my picture? I can't even see my picture. Am I even on here anymore?
Yes.
Oh, there I am. So this is a matchbox, and he painted this wonderful waterfall scene for me. So I'm actually grateful that he sent that or gave that to me because it's going to sit here on my desk. I don't know if I'm supposed to have matches at school, but anyways, the box will sit here. So anyway, I think what my most my funniest thing I had to say about Chris story is when we went up to my cabin as a leadership group, and Chris always talked about his love of fishing, and whenever he had time, his vacations, he would go fishing with friends. And so he went fishing down at the dock up at the lake up there, and when I walked down, he was looking up into this tree and he was snagged. And I said, "What are you doing?" Well, his first cast went up into a pine tree. So he got snagged on the pine tree up in the air rather than like, hey, Vilma, can you mute?
Yeah, done.
Thank you. So that's probably my funniest story about Chris, although we shared a lot of laughs and a lot of good times. He taught me pretty much 98% of what I know about adult ed with just him doing everything he did every day with me. And so I'm going to turn it over to anybody else that would like to talk. I don't know, Debbie, did you hire Chris?
Yes. Well, I don't know. I was there a long time. When Chris started with us, he was a substitute. And so he substituted in all of our classes at every level. And after that, when he was assigned, he taught in every type of class that we had. He taught citizenship, he taught ESL, ABE, GED, high school diploma. He did everything. He didn't teach office skills at all, but pretty much everything else he did at some point in time. And always, just took the assignment. It didn't matter what it was or whether he felt very confident about it, but he figured it out and was able to carry it out. So I don't know if I hired him, but I was around when he started. I was there.
Patsy, did you want to say something? Your square just lit up.
Oh, can you see me?
No, we can hear you.
We can hear you and see your name.
Well, I want to say hi to Debbie.
Hi, Patsy.
Hi, sweetie, and Sylvia's there.
Good to hear you.
Hi, Patsy.
I don't know who all's there, but I think Maria is.
Hello.
Yes, she is.
Yes, I'm here.
I have lots of stories about Chris. I was calling him to sub for us, what Debbie was talking about, and every time I needed a sub, I called Chris, and he came every single time. And like she said, it didn't matter what it was, he just came and he did it. When I moved to Idaho, Chris came up here for, I don't know, he was here several days, and we decided that we'd all go kayaking. And we hauled the kayaks up to the Coeur d'Alene River, and we did some fishing, and we fooled around for a while. And then my sister was there and a bunch of family. And we got in through the kayaks, and he was way ahead of me. And of course, my kayak turned upside down. I don't remember what I did wrong, but it was something. But I couldn't, I couldn't get up, and it was only 3 feet of water. I certainly wasn't going to drown. So I started yelling, and Chris was way up there, and I saw him. I couldn't get to him, but I could see him up there, and when he heard my voice, his head snapped around, and he let go of his kayak, and he was in the water and on his way to save me within 5 seconds. So I'll never forget the way he responded and how willing he was. And I will miss him.
And I think that's pretty much Chris's character, is he was always there to help, whether it was staff, but especially the students. I've had a lot of students when we were all here. They would tell me that Chris is the reason that they continued to continue with us to work towards their goals. So yeah, he had that passion to help people. Great heart, great heart.
I just wanted to add something. Patsy, I believe Chris came back from Coeur d'Alene with a tattoo. That I don't know if it was that time or another time.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. We spent a lot of time finding a place, and then he sat there in that chair, and they were doing this tattoo on his arm, and I couldn't handle it. I had to leave because it looks so, it looks so painful. And he never even flinched, but I left. And it was a lot of fun. We had a great time.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Who's Patsy? I don't know who Patsy is.
Patsy was the registrar before Shelley, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
I have I have a lot of stories also, as we were there for a long time together. But I remember the tattoo. He was so proud of that tattoo.
Which
also, when it was a big old rose.
Oh, the rose, okay.
Yeah. And then when we got him to join our book club, he was, I believe, the first male member of our book club. Mm-hmm. And I remember when it was The Help, and that's how I knew that Chris could play the banjo, because he started talking about the banjo. Also, a leadership team when we went to Long Beach. Oh my God, yeah. It made work so much fun, and we got to see each other in a different light. He got me hooked up. He was a beer connoisseur. He introduced me to Pliny the Elder, which I now consume on I'm not going to say a regular basis. I'm trying to do that. And also the cabin to go hiking. Had a wonderful time, being goofy, being whatever. But on a serious note, although Chris was my supervisor at the end, I was going through a lot of personal things, and I was like, gosh, do I share it with him? Do I trust him enough? And this is even before we went up to the cabin. And I shared it with him. He called me on a regular basis to make sure I was okay, to lend his support. He was such a a caring, dear friend. And I think he was like that to a lot of people, but I never knew him on that personal level. But after that, yeah, he was my go-to. Very, very good friend.
Thank you for sharing.
I'll share. This is Dana, if you guys can't see me. I've worked at the adult school for nearly 20 years, and if not 20 years. And I have to be honest with you, Chris scared the crap out of me. And it wasn't until we started taking admin classes together, and we were spending just about every Saturday together a couple years ago, that I actually got to know him and his personality, and we became really good friends. So again, just like everybody with all the stories about Chris, I had a hard time narrowing down, but there was two stories that kind of came to my mind. The first one had to do with Castle. And Steve Lowe, Val, those of you that have ever worked at Castle, it is its own little island out there, and sometimes we have problems. For example, if the daytime staff doesn't shut a door, sometimes you have to creep around, and it's creepy out there at night, trying to find the door that is unlocked or not shut so that you can arm the alarm. So I had gone through the warehouse and the offices and opened and shut doors, and I still couldn't get the alarm to arm itself. So, you know, it's after 9. I'll call Chris. So Chris proceeds to tell me, okay, what you need to do is you need to go to the back of the building, and you need to give the bay doors a good swift kick. And again, at this point, Chris and I had become really good friends. And so I'm like, is he serious? He's not just sending me to the back of the building. And I said, are you serious? And he's like, yeah, just go back, give it a good swift kick, because the magnet on the bottom sometimes doesn't connect or something. Anyways, I go creeping out into the back. We were supposed to have security back there, but every once in a while you never saw the security. So I'm out there in the dark, and I turn around and I give this bay door a good swift donkey kick. And the noise that it made scared me. And I was like, well, Chris told me to do it, so I did it. So 2 more times just to make sure that it had done its thing. Well, I come around the corner. Well, security was there. They had heard the bang of the door. And so I walked over to him. I said, hi, I was just finishing up testing, having a difficult time arming the alarm. So Chris and Merced told me, and they kind of laughed about it. And sure enough, went inside and the alarm set. So speed ahead, probably 6 months or so, Steve Lowe at night called me. Do you remember that, Steve?
Yeah.
He called me and he said, I can't get the alarm to set. And I thought back to Chris's wise words, and I said to Steve, go around and kick the bay door. And so I think you did that too. The other story happened last year at graduation, where Mr. Hobbs wasn't there. And Chris was in charge, and he was going to call out the names and do the whole thing with graduation. And so this was my first graduation. It was an eye-opening experience, lots going on, hairpins and hairspray and the caps and gowns. And so I go downstairs to find Chris just to make sure he's okay and if there's anything I need to do. And he says to me, I need you to find the person that's going to be singing our national anthem. And I said, okay, who is it? And he goes, well, his name is Jesus. And when I told Rose this story last week, I had actually forgotten his name because Chris gave me the best description of this man to go and find. He said, it is a Hispanic gentleman. Go find him. So down to the lobby I go, and I'm thinking in my mind, a Hispanic gentleman. I have never met this guy before. And I'm looking out into the faces behind the glass doors of all the people that are wanting to come in and see their graduates. And I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to find this guy. So when they started to let people in, I was kind of sizing people like, could you be a singer? Could you be a singer? finally I found him. And I think even Shelly at one point, because it was taking quite a long time, Shelly kind of yelled over the balcony, "Have you found him yet?" And I'm thinking, no, I have not found him yet. So ended up taking him to Chris, and everything worked out the way it was. But I just thought that was so funny that here I walk in and I was thinking, oh, he'll just say, "Oh no, I got this, because that was kind of Chris's personality. He did things for everybody, and he really never well, we all know he lived there and he did everything for us. So when I went in to ask him if he needed any help, little did I know that he was going to give me a job. So I can only hope that I can be half as knowledgeable and help you guys out in the years to come. But he will be truly missed.
I guess I'll talk now. This is Cindy Melia, and I'm the assessment coordinator here at Merced Adult School. And Chris became the program manager in May of 2015, and in August of 2015 is when I was hired. And we went to the CASAS implementation training together. He drove, and every training that we had from CASAS, that was a yearly thing. He and I would go together, and always had some interesting conversations while we were at the training. But both he and I were the kind of people that once the training stopped, it's like we didn't talk about it afterwards. We just talked about each other's lives and what was happening in each other's lives. So that was always a cool thing to see, that there were two parts of our relationship, and it started right from the very beginning. As Dana said, that no matter what, when someone asked him something, he was willing to be there. I have funny things I can say, but in my head right now, I can't say it because I started thinking too much about it. So someone else can start talking.
Suzanne, is there anything that you'd like to share from Burlington?
I'm so glad you asked.
I can see you just like itching to get on here, so.
I don't remember all the circumstances around it, but I was on site one day, and he was on the fence about whether or not to adopt this dog. And he said, "I'm really kind of, I've been kind of sick lately. I don't know if I can take this on. The dog has so much energy." And I looked at him and I was like, "Chris, let's not play games. We both know what's going to happen here." And he's like, no, don't. I might say no. And the next time I went back, I looked at him, and without any words spoken, he just started shaking his head, and he's like, "Yes, I kept the dog. I did. I love it. I'm not really sure how I got here, but I'm a dog owner." Again. And I said, "Good for you. I'm so excited." And he said, "Yeah. Did I mention how much energy the dog has?" And I said, "Yeah, you mentioned it the last time I was here." "Oh, well, it seems to have doubled since I committed to the dog." But he was equally as torn up about taking the dog on, but then once he had the dog, he was completely infatuated. It was just the most adorable. And it just speaks to his heart. I mean, that's the kind of person he was. He just wasn't going to say no to the little furry face.
Well, to piggyback on that, it's funny you say that, because we had where we're located, as many of you know, we get some interesting mental health issues walking around the streets here. And we were standing out front by the gate, and this woman with definite mental illness came up to me, and she had a dog, and she had a whole lot of not nice things to say about me. And okay, and so she walked off, and I actually had the campus police officer go talk to her because I wanted to make sure it wasn't a drug issue. And he said, no, that's one of our regulars with mental health. And the whole time this dog's just, you know, with this lady. So she walks off, and that happened in the morning. That night, I get a phone call from Chris, and Chris said, you know, that I just want to let you know that mental health thing this morning, he said, that really bothered me. And I said, yeah, I go, I just, you know, I don't know, there's nothing we can do. I don't know how we can get them help. There's nothing that we can do. And he said, no, I'm worried about the dog. So he was actually wondering if he could go talk to Officer Dahlia to find out where that lady normally hangs out, because she was homeless, so he could see if he could get the dog. And I kind of persuaded him to discourage him against that. So, but that's Chris's heart. Like you said, that's just, you know, he was worried about that dog. If we couldn't do anything about the lady, well, at least we could help the dog. So.
If I can add to that, I know that Chris loved dogs very much. Last summer, we both lost our dogs within a few days of each other, had to put them down. And I remember being so distraught that I physically, mentally could not go to work the next day. And Chris came by my room and we talked outside. And he said, no, I completely understand where you're coming from. You know, I just lost my dog. They're like family. You know, you love them, you care for them. They're like your children. And we talked about his father, you know, and the recent loss of his dad. So he kind of had a double whammy there. But Chris was a very kind-hearted, compassionate, caring soul. You know, he truly, it doesn't surprise me at all that he could play all the instruments that he could. And that he liked to paint. He was artistic because that's who he was, his inner core as a person. He was a very sensitive soul. And like Sylvia said, if you had issues going on in your personal life, Chris was someone you could go to and talk with. But I remember feeling a little bit of guilt last summer regarding that, because I left and I went to the Central Coast. That was a lifelong dream since teenage years. And Chris shared with me that that was also his dream. He had attended Cal Poly, so once a Mustang, always a Mustang. And he really loved the Central Coast. I mean, what's not to love? You have so many outdoor activities that he really enjoyed. And he looked forward to someday returning to the coast and living there once again. And so I was going back and forth because my husband was getting ready to retire and the timing wasn't quite right, but yet it was a grant coordinator position. I love to write grants. And so he was really encouraging me, well, you know, don't turn it away, you know, really take your time and think about it before you make a decision as to whether or not you're going to go. And so I went briefly, temporarily, had to return, but I remember Chris, you know, the encouragement that he gave, and he was just so concerned, you know, about that a person do the right thing. He wasn't thinking about, you know, he wasn't putting the professional work before the personal, let's put it that way, because he could have said, no, you know, Stan Merced, the timing's not right, and keep working. But no, he encouraged a person to go out and fulfill their dreams. And that's who he was as a person. I just want to share with you a brief little poem here. I didn't write this, but it was something that was shared with me when I left and I had to return to Merced. And it's called Morro Rock in the Fog. Waves roll in, waves roll out. Fog rolls in and fog rolls out. And that's what it is. So, Chris, you will be remembered, you will be missed, and you'll always be loved by all of us.
Can I just add one more thing about Chris? All these things are coming to my mind as I'm listening to all of these things. But I wanted to say that at a time when Carol Robards, our previous principal, had me come over and start setting up some things. Chris was new there to adult school. He hadn't been there very long. And I was doing an orientation with some students, and he walked in and asked me a question, and he stood and listened to what I was saying. Then when I was helping the student assigning classes, one of them asked me, they wanted to take the class that Chris was teaching, because let's not joke about it, he was a handsome young man. There were even some staff members, when they came on, they wanted the 411 or the 911 on Chris, wanted to know if he was single, what his likes or dislikes were. Just very charismatic, but I laughed about that because I thought, man, if we had a class, we could fill it up with everybody that just wanted to be in Chris's class. And no offense to Val or Steve Lowe, I don't want you to take it personal or anything, but
Well, Steve had the same problem.
yeah. It was a different time.
Yeah.
But yeah, always charismatic, very engaging. Yeah.
I'm going to add something too. When Dana was saying how he would said things that, like, go find the Hispanic gentleman. One of my first memories on the adult school campus was Chris came knocking on the door. Well, he actually opened the door and he looked in my room, and then he said, "Hey, have you seen?" And then he thought about it a second and he goes, "Come out, we need help finding somebody." And I was like, okay. So I said, "Who is it?" Or no, I said, "Well, what do they look like?" And he said, "Well, right now she's naked." So when you were talking, Steve, earlier about the mental health person, it was that same person, I'm pretty sure. But he was such a person of few words and just more action than words. And so I really appreciated that about him, because they were always kind words too. So that's just another thing I wanted to add. I was thinking of my first things I thought about him.
Thank you, Steve.
Going back to the book club that we had when Carol Roberts was the principal, there were a number of us that were in a book club together.
Debbie, you went mute. Debbie, you're freezing, Debbie. We can't hear you.
Am I back?
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay, sorry. My internet seems to come and go at home. Anyway, so Chris's first love was engineering, and he studied it first, and then he changed to English. So when the way that our book club operated was, one of us chose the book we were going to read, and then when we got together to talk about the book, we went to that person's house and brought a dinner, had a potluck, and that type of thing. So he chose the book, and the book was about, it was an allegory about, and the characters were two-dimensional shapes. And so it was all about a society that was built with these two-dimensional shapes. And it was better, the best thing was to be a circle. So the more sides you had, the better you were, because you were closer to being a circle. And so the main character eventually went out of the two-dimensional land into the three-dimensional land and saw pyramids and things like that. And then when he came back, they put him in jail because he was trying to proselytize people that there was another type of world to live in. And it certainly was one of the most unusual books we read. But it gave us a lot of insight into Chris's mind and the way that he thought, because he had obviously read it before. And, it just sort of was a reflection of who he was.
Yeah. Quick question for... Hi, Kim. Quick question for everybody. Has Zoom gone back to a 40-minute time limit? No, we're still, okay.
Not the professional ones.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been able to teach all summer and it hasn't been limited, so.
Okay.
I think it's September. It's flipping back.
Okay, I just want to make sure in the middle of this we didn't cut out. Anybody else like to share?
I'll share. So I'm Christy Tatum. Chris and I served on, he actually trained me for high school diploma, and then he trained me for GED, and then he trained me for ESL, and then he trained me for ABE. And so we spent a lot of time together. He and I really enjoyed trying the technology pieces and working on those. We did leadership together. So many projects, so many times together. It's really hard to picture adult school without Chris there. And then just dealing with leadership and having, Sylvia and Chris definitely pushed me out of my comfort zones, especially Miss Sylvia, just so you know, she's a little bit of a pusher. But they've always, encouraged me to think outside the box and to go the extra mile and, presenting at state conferences. I never thought I'd be one of those people that did that. Helping with the CCAE conference in Fresno was a lot of fun with Chris and Steve and everyone. And the last text I got from him was about painting. And I'm just never going to forget the frog. So he had a frog that he painted that's going to light up. And then he sent me a picture of, I don't know what it was. Well, I don't think it was a barbecue, or I don't know. I was like, what are you trying to do? Because it was on fire. And he just laughed and said, oh, I didn't set anything else on fire. And we always shared stories about camping. He was so proud of his little camper that he got. I remember he came in one day and he was like, it's making weird noises. What is that? And he had plugged it in and left it and forgot about it. And so things were turning on in there. The light was coming on. We always talked about fishing. We had, he had Chuck. I had Cammie. We both had chocolate labs. And then, of course, you got Jack. And then just all kinds of things. I mean, there's so many great memories there. He was always there to help no matter what. And you're like, you should go home. And he's like, well, after this. And so that's about it.
That was always his response, was after this.
Mm-hmm.
Never get him to go home. He always wanted to work. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
I would.
Mary Lou?
Mary Lou, yes. All right, so our relationship was mostly professional, but in the last 2 years, can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Okay. In the last 2 years, he actually tried to break that, and get a little bit more personal because, that's Chris. And at the end, he would come to my classroom 5 times in the period between 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. And in the nighttime, whenever he was working, he would come at least 2 to 3 times. And there was one point when I asked him, do you get bored at your office? He's like, yeah, I got to get my mind clear. I'm like, oh, okay. And in 2 occasions, he stopped me because I was asking him a question about school. And he stopped me and he said, sit down, let's talk. So when he asked me to sit down and talk, he noticed that I'm that kind of person that says everything so fast that he wanted for me to slow down. And on those 2 occasions, he was actually trying to get to know me a little bit more. And I thought that was really sweet of him. And every time he would approach me, usually a student would be around us, and the student will actually try to get their attention. Like Sylvia said, he was a handsome man. So especially Stella I think Stella had a crush on him. And I haven't been able to tell her that he passed away because Stella has chronic depression. I don't know how to tell her. I need help on that. But anyway, Chris was always there to help a student. And anything he could do, he would do it. And he would tell me, every time he came to the classroom, he would tell me, just checking. Is everything all right? do you need anything? And I would go, no, I'm good. All right. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. So I will always remember those words from him. I will always remember him that way. Thank you.
Wow. I didn't even think of the ramifications of Stella, how she's going to take it.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to have Maribel. You and I will talk.
Yeah.
Because Stella's one that told me that, you know, when Chris got sick in the fall, he came to see me and was very, very concerned because he's the reason that she came back. So, yeah, he's gonna be upset. But yeah, Maribel will talk and figure out how we can have that conversation. Kim, I know earlier you wanted to say something.
I just remember Chris could never keep a plant alive to save his soul. He killed 1 million plants. If you were a plant sent to Chris, you were on death row. I remember that. Oh my God, the amount of plants. And he was so sad every time one of his plants died. It's like, what did I do? I said, did you water it? Yeah, it's yellow. I said, okay, too much water. Okay, then he'd buy another one, and then it would die. And I go, did you water it? He goes, no, last time you told me too much water. So I always thought that was so cute. But I remember when I'd always worked just the night, and then I flipped over to daytime. And I remember telling Chris why I had to flip to daytime and my health issues. And he sat down and he looked at me. He goes, how could you have a heart attack? You're so young and so vibrant. I said, Chris, heart attacks and strokes don't care. And I remember telling him that we had this whole conversation about heart attacks and strokes. And then when Cindy told me he had a stroke, I about died. I was like, oh my God, we had a conversation. So those kinds of things are the memories I have. And I remember when we have a black lab puppy who's 18 months. I remember when I got the puppy, I sent Chris a picture and said, look, I got a puppy. And he just goes, oh, black lab, awesome. What, they're great dogs. Da, 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 da. And I was like, yeah. And then when he told me that the dog died, I was just like, I'm so sorry, Chris. I'm so sorry. And mostly what I think I'm going to remember about Chris is he always had a willing smile. Even on the tough, even on the, I got to tell Kim no, but I'm going to do it with a smile. Maybe she won't kill me. So I will always remember that. And that, are you having a good day? Are you good? Is there anything I can get for you? At night, he'd say, let me know when you're walking to your car so I can make sure you get there safely. So he just had a very caring, loving spirit. And in these times, that's oftentimes very hard to find. So that's what I will always remember him. Plant killer and very kind heart. But the good news is, in heaven, he won't have to kill any plants at all.
Yeah, I'd walk into our office and Rose would have a new plant on her desk. And I go, oh, you got a new plant? And she said, no, this is Chris's. It was dying. And I'm trying to make it recover. So, so I can attest to that. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else?
I'm just going to say something just really super fast. Right now, when Kim was talking about Chris, it made me remember that in the beginning when Chris became program manager, I kind of felt bad for him because, you know, he was the only guy surrounded by a bunch of hens. We all wanted to take care of Chris, set him up, feed him, do everything with him. And when Debbie left and you came, Steve, oh my God, it was like a bromance. You two were in love with each other. None of us female had a chance with him. And I sent in that picture when we were all banking for the Employee of the Year for that first award. And then you gave it to him. I knew you two had something going on because I know there were others that were worthy, but I just wanted to tell you that I know he cared a lot about you, your guys' relationship. That was good for him. And I think it was good for all of us. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, he was, you know, it's weird because I don't know that him not being here is really set in for me yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I had just gone in and sat in his office a couple times and just kind of got lost in my thoughts. But yeah, Chris was, when I got here, I think he was happy that I was actually like being his bodyguard and keeping you gals away from him because he had work to do.
Hey, I'm pretty sure I could take you.
But he taught me so much about adult ed, because when you come from K-12, you know, you come from the high school, it is a whole different mindset. And I remember, you know, my first week here, and I got this email from the state, I remember calling Debbie in a panic. We had to break down all of our spending by program for the prior year. And I was like, ABE, I don't even know what any of this is. How am I going to tell you how much we spent? I don't know what any of this is. But to sit down with Chris and have him walk me through everything on what the programs were and just teach me about adult ed was, I mean, that alone was, yeah, I think I did have a bromance with him just with that alone, but just so knowledgeable. I mean, he's basically taught everything that we offer. And I remember sitting down our first, every year, CalWORKS HSA comes in and does an audit, and they ask you all these questions. And Chris is just firing off every answer. And I'd been here probably at that time, I don't know, 5-6 months. And I didn't even know what they were asking. And he just was firing off every answer. And I remember him getting up and leaving. And it's a very business-like meeting. It's all fun and games during the year, and you have these great relationships. And then when they bring somebody in to audit you, those people that you normally have these great talks with are all business. And when Chris walked out, she said, "Who is that?" And I said, "Oh, that's Chris Rodriguez. He's the program manager." She said, "Well, how long's he been here?" I said, "I don't know, 10 years. She goes, "Why haven't we talked to him before?" Yeah, I don't know. She goes, "He knows everything." Yeah, thank goodness. So, yeah, very appreciative of Chris. Anybody else want to share? Val?
Yeah. I working with Chris was a lot of fun. He made it fun. And as serious as adult ed can be sometimes, I shared a lot of laughs with Chris, which made the day go by. He used to come visit at Castle, and as you guys know, he used to run Castle essentially when he was out there in a short time. So when he would come out and visit, we would kind of chit chat. We talk about, you know, sports, or he liked sci-fi. He was more of a Star Wars guy, more of a Star Trek guy. So we would rib each other about that. But I asked him one time, he's program manager at this point, and I asked him, do you miss it out here? And he looked around the room and he looked at me. He's like, "I miss the peace and quiet." So I just thought about that right now. That cracked me up, because I guess he missed the peace and quiet. I guess I always felt very lucky to be at Castle, because I had Chris to lean on if I had questions or concerns. Dana mentioned the story earlier about the bay door. The same thing happened to me, only it happened at 5 o'clock in the afternoon when it was like 104 degrees. So that was fun, but at least it didn't happen at night. But the same thing happened to me. He knew all the little quirks of the building and how things were out there. But like everybody shared, he's always had the answer to the questions. You know, I'd call him up with a concern, and he was a very calming influence on me. As some of you know that work with me, I can be a little manic when it comes to work. And he understood that. He understood how passionate I am about what we're doing. So I get wound up sometimes, and Chris would always find a way to calm me down, and it's okay, we'll figure this out. And he would always end up coming up with a solution to the problem. And I always I appreciate that. And it made the job, like I said, that much easier for me. So I'm going to miss him. You know, I'm going to miss like I said, the off-work conversations, stuff about sports. He was a 49ers fan. I'm a Raiders fan, obviously. So he would throw his little jabs in there when I'd walk by the office, and all I could do is smile and take it. And those are the things I remember more than the stuff we did at work. But yeah, good dude. He represented the best of us.
Yep.
So that's all I got.
That's a good comment.
Steve, I want to share something. Oh, I'm on the air?
You're on the air.
Okay, a couple of experience. With Chris, he's kind of like a guy with less than 5 words in a sentence. Every time I ask him a question, it's either yes, no, can't do it, or maybe later type thing. Okay, but one experience I had with them at that castle, and when I took over Pat Lang out there, she told me one thing: don't come over the weekend. And okay, why? Well, you'll find out. And it turned out that the place is kind of haunted. All right, with Pat's experience and everything like that. So Chris came in one night. Okay, Rigo and I was there, and he was going out. He did. We talked about things and everything. And I go, hey, Chris, those of the students here are feeling some activity that's going on in this room, in this building here. Do you think it's okay that I can do a paranormal activity here, investigation, see who it is? And all he said was, no. I go, okay, just no? Or maybe no, not now, or not tonight. He goes, no. I go, okay, come on, you got no more than 2 words here. Okay, well, he left the door, he walked out the door, and I said, okay, well, I just take it that tonight I can't do it. So that's one experience, though. He's really short with me as far as sentence-wise and word-wise and everything, but a couple of experiences I had with him that he really opened up to me and told me like a type of guy who he was. One time, I'm not sure, it was Gary Curls or Ed Dempsey retirement thing. It was at the Elks Lodge, okay? Out there in the downtown Merced on M Street. And I tell you what, for the 10, 15 minutes start talking, I don't remember what we talked about, but we kind of connected. He was like the Chris I didn't even know and everything. I remember he did talk about his music one time, and I go, oh, come on. You got no talent. You're like me. You got no talent. So you're talking about it. He said, well, we need more music here. But that's one thing, and again, I don't know all what we talked about. It was kind of fun for the 10, 15 minutes we talked and everything. Another time, we went out to Fresno and to that conference out there, and I ended up driving in the brand new white Tacoma pickup, and I sat in the front seat with him, right? And we got talking. Well, first he was kind of quiet. Then I started opening things up, and we started talking. We got into his fishing. I mean, he taught me more things fishing in the 1-hour trip up there than I even knew the 5, 6 years I ever fished and everything. He taught me what the type of bait to use, the type of lure to use, all that kind of stuff. So that was one thing. And of course, being who I am, a little crazy guy and everything, he taught me about fishing. I go, well, Chris, we go fishing here. You go in the forest and everything, little in the private lakes and everything like that. I go, yeah, once in a while. And I go, did you hear anything that's strange or smell anything or see something that's unusual? And he go, what are you talking about? I'm talking about Bigfoot. You have a Bigfoot experience when you get up in the mountains and everything? He looked at me and think I was crazy. I go, I'm for real. I believe in Bigfoot. And he kept looking at me, driving at the same time, looking back and forth at me. And I go, well, you know what it is? You probably gone fishing a lot, but you haven't go deep wood. You got to go deep wood with me. Go backpacking. We'll jump on a horse, drive back there, and look for a place to fish and everything. You can teach me more. And then we'll see about the Bigfoot experiences. But, the two guys opened up to me to tell me who the kind of guy he was. All right, more than professional conversation with them, but he was really good. That kind of gave me an insight who he was. I really like that. The other part of him that outside of the school and everything. So I really appreciate him.
Yep. Thank you for sharing. Anybody else like to share?
I don't really have a story, but I do have like a confession to make. Well, 4 years ago when I started at the adult school, I remember, of course, Chris, like, who's this guy? He didn't seem approachable. I was like, oh, and I remember like, he's cute though. How old is he? So I was one of those girls, okay, when I first started, and I was kind of intimidated by him, and I didn't know if I could approach him. And little did I know that he really is kind of like such a loving, caring person. He became a mentor of mine, and he was a person I didn't know I could open up with him, but when I opened up, and he started checking in on me. He became a mentor. So yeah, I had a little crush on him, but after that, he just became that big brother. He is that rock in the adult school. He was like the mediator that everyone went to, like, that middle child that everyone goes to, like, and you tell him your stories, and he will keep them, with him. So he will definitely be missed. So yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I have one last story. Well, I could tell a whole bunch, but that's probably my first week maybe here. There was this little poodle looking dog roaming around the school. And Chris found it and kept it, hoping that somebody would come and pick it up. And I remember walking back into my office, and Chris is sitting at his desk, and he's got this little, like, not to sound sexist, but this little poodle dog you would think would be in a woman's purse or something like that, right? And so here he is, just sitting at his desk, holding this little poodle and doing his work. I was like, oh my goodness. Rose ended up adopting the dog, but he was not going to let anything happen to that dog. So he just loved his dogs. I think more than people half the time. Anybody else like to share?
I'm just going to share this. Oh, somebody else can go.
No, go ahead, Sylvia.
Oh, no, I was just going to say that, between anybody that has worked at the adult school, all of you, some of you I know, some of you I don't, you make really good friends, really good connections. And Chris was one of those. I talked to him just probably 3 weeks before he passed. He was coming to Tulare, where I live now. And he had a meeting there with the director, who happens to be a friend of mine also, and talking about, okay, where can we go have a drink? Because once again, it's that connoisseur of alcohol. But just keeping those good connections. And he made a good point of that. He reached out to me after he had his stroke that once again, he was out walking his dog, and he said he just woke up and he was in an ambulance. And I'm like, what? And all of a sudden, that motherly instinct, I'm going to be right there. Call me, let me know what I can bring. Best guy ever. Best guy. And all I have to say is, I don't know why all of this happened with him, other than I try to justify it that God needed somebody to lead the way. And I think Chris, the Chris that he is, volunteer, hey, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And so I find solace in that he's just going to make heaven that much better. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Christy?
Oh.
Is that what you were going to say?
Oh, that. I mean, I'm all tearing up. No, when Steve mentioned his Toyota Tacoma, he was so happy to get a truck, and he finally broke down and got a new vehicle. And then I had to drive my husband's truck in that day, and I parked in between you and him, and you both were like, don't ever do that again. Why? Why would you do that? My truck looks
Here
so
we have these
tiny
small
now.
trucks, and Christy's got this truck now that takes up like 2 spaces.
Yeah. So
And
that
she had a real
just
truck.
came to mind. And it's not my truck, it's my husband's. It's the Beast. I call it the Beast.
Yeah, the beast. You definitely had the beast.
Yes.
Well, I thank everybody for being here today. I just wanted us all to, have a chance just to remember Chris, and really wanted it to be a celebration and just, tell good stories and happy stories and funny stories. And, it goes to his character with all the different people that are on here, from whether it's Burlington or whether you've worked here in the past. He touched a lot of people in a positive way. So I feel blessed to have the opportunity to work with him. I know at some point it'll actually sink in that he won't be in the office across from me, but yeah, so I'll miss my friend and my coworker, and I thank everybody for being here. And
Yeah, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Now I'm going to have a Pliny.
yeah. Well, if you're not working today, go have your Pliny. If you are working today, no Plinies.
Yeah, make that two. One for Chris, one for me.
That's right. So anyhow, I thank you, everybody. I'm going to try to figure out how to send this recording to Paula. But everybody have a blessed day, and hopefully our paths will cross soon.
Thank you for putting this together.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. Bye, everybody.